Carlyle, Mr. David Jones, and Sir David Amess, honorable members of the British Houses of Parliament. Greetings to all of you, and hail to our conference. The International Human Rights Day is actually the day of Iran and the people of Iran, because my country is where people are most eager and thirsty for human rights. It is the day of Iran because it is the most oppressed country in the world today, with all her freedoms enchained. It is the day of Iran because her people have fought most for human rights in our time. 120,000 PMOI and other freedom fighters have been executed, including 30,000 political prisoners who were massacred in 1988, and the PMOI members in Camp Ashraf and Liberty who lost their lives for being steadfast against the clerical regime. All of them have written Iran's history of human rights in their blood. The eternal word they have written is freedom, a cause that will succeed with the Iranian people's resistance. Of course, it has been a long time since the mullahs have embedded repression in the lives of Iranians as a permanent factor. They have not abandoned gouging of eyes and amputation of limbs, and executions are repeated every few hours. Our compatriots, however, have not surrendered to this barbarism. They have never accepted violation of their rights and removal of their freedoms. And these are the questions that always haunt the minds of all Iranians, especially youngsters. Why don't we have freedom of expression? Why do we constantly live in horror? Why is there not a single independent and free media in Iran? Why are we deprived of the freedom to choose our clothing? Why don't we have the right to protest? Why shouldn't we bring down this savage, tyrannical regime and establish a democratic government? These questions and protests that have inspired many uprisings so far will finally realize the great change and make Iran the cradle of human rights and freedom. Dear friends, the mullahs' brutality in violating our people's rights is because they want to hold on to power. It's because the people of Iran have staged a widespread resistance against the regime. Every month, teachers, students, workers, and other sections of the society stage hundreds of protests. Every day, the protests become louder. Even political prisoners send messages from inside the jail calling on people to resist. Last month, an imprisoned woman, Maryam Rajavi, sent a message to the PMOI residents in Camp Liberty saying, "You are the light in the darkness of tyranny, and you will certainly win." Meanwhile, our people ask the international community, why have you closed your eyes on the gross violations of human rights in Iran? Why are you silent over 2,000 executions under Rouhani? And why don't you react to 7 massacres in Ashraf and Liberty with 100 141 killed and hundreds disabled? Why don't you do something for the protection of the defenseless Camp Liberty? Why is this regime's file of crimes not sent to the Security Council despite 62 UN condemnation for its rights abuses in Iran? Why don't you make arrangement for prosecution of the regime's leaders, especially Khamenei, in an international court for ordering and committing countless executions, especially the massacre of political prisoners in Iran and the murder of 300,000 Syrians? I call on the international community and especially on Britain to condition their relations with Tehran on end to executions and on freedom of political prisoners. I call on them to respect the Iranian people's fight to achieve freedom and human rights. Camp Liberty was the target of a huge missile attack on October 29, 2015. Since 2009, 141 PMOI members have been killed and hundreds more seriously wounded or disabled in these attacks. I would expect all of you to concentrate your efforts on lifting the Camp Liberty blockade, provision of protection and security for the camp, and transfer of the camp's responsibility to a party that is not affiliated to the Iranian regime. Especially, it is absolutely necessary that Faleh Fayyaz, head of the committee in charge of suppression of Camp Liberty, be removed from his position. He is being pursued by the Court of Spain for his crimes against the international community. It is time for US and UN to fulfill their promises and make sure residents are allowed to sell their property at Camp Ashraf to finance their relocation. I sincerely thank you, dear friends of Iranian people, for your efforts over the years to defend the oppressed human rights in Iran. Thank you very much.